Welcome back to the Hishaku Hideout, a weekly podcast where we talk about the latest chapter and everything Kagurabachi. I'm here with Dice,
Yo, what's happening?
and today we're getting into chapter 92. And what the are they feeding Hokuzono, bro? He is built different. This chapter gave us he's just feeding us at this point, giving us a 5-course meal.
Yeah, man. I mean, I told you this chapter literally had me feeling like a little kid again, bro. Like, not not even
Bro.
exaggerating. This chapter had me like that.
Facts. We talked briefly about just how every character involved gets their moment. They all get glazed in one way or another. It just feels very. Each character is they played the role that they played in this fight and in this chapter. It just felt like Hokuzono gave them all their flowers. It's like they all lived up to the expectations we thought they would be. Hokito's super impressive. Natsuki is not just this edgy kid who thinks he should have got more. We see he is out it. He's going blow to blow with these big dogs. And even Yura, who's not even a swordsman per se, or doesn't come from the pedigree that they do, he keeps up with them. He's handling his own.
100%. I mean, you said it, right? Everybody gets their time under the spotlight in this chapter, and as well as everybody gets a little bit of glaze. Let's start with the first one. Just Yura, the head honcho of the bad guys team, just saying straight up that Uruha is too strong. How about that, right? Just right off the bat, second panel of the chapter, it's nothing. He's not tripping. His ego's not even hurt.
Yeah, he's not sweating really either, but he's just, he's he can't finish him. He's too strong to finish him. It's, I really like it. At first, I ain't gonna lie to you, when as the Hishaku Hideout, and I opened the chapter to see the leader of the Hishaku, saying, "Oh, Uruha is just too strong." We definitely don't want to see Samura. You know what I mean? We don't want to see Samura if we the Hishaku, even without an enchanted blade.
Yeah, for sure. And we can get into this later when we talk about more about Yura in the fight. But to me, this you do have a point to what you're saying, but it also begs the question, if this guy is so if he's not really built like these other demons, what makes him the leader? Why is he so dangerous? And we've already seen some of that. Exactly, irreplaceable, like Hokuto says. Yeah, good picking up on that, because literally Hokuto emphasizes that, right? And we've already seen a bit of that from Yura. It's the way he's able to manipulate circumstances. He's able to orchestrate, and he's able to predict different outcomes and adapt accordingly. So we've already had a bit of what makes him dangerous, but the fact that he's not as lethal, at least right now in this state that we see him, just makes me wonder what's that other level to him that just there has to be more that just makes him what he is, right? And just to throw this out there, bro, Hokuto's pretty big. I just kind of realized him standing next to Yura this chapter, but Hokuto's a stud, bro.
Yeah, and
pretty big guy.
Hokuto is who he is himself, no matter where he's at. He's very charismatic. He's fun on panel. He's not just instantly thirsting over trying to fight Uruha. He's got his arm around the leader of his gang, and basically just hyped. It's funny. And the fact that he says, "You saved him for me, didn't you?" makes me think that Hokuto thought that Yura could possibly take out Uruha. Because he's saying, "Oh, you saved him for me," thinking he would have killed him if he fought him. That was one thing that stuck out. And of course, we also see the duo that we didn't know we needed or want, but Natsuki and Uruha is so funny together.
I love him, bro.
Yeah, and in their talks, he's asking him why he's so sluggish. That's when we find out Balchaku's sorcery does look to be a cooldown. There's a certain time before it expires, because we see it kind of dissipate or dissolve above Uruha's head when he says, "I'm good now." And then he asks Natsuki, "What about you?" The dude just tells him to shut up.
Yeah,
And
man, I love their dynamic.
yeah, it's gonna be fun to see. Like, I don't know if Natsuki's gonna make it out of this fight,
Chill.
but Natsuki is that guy. Like he is, he lived up to the potential, especially like the role that he plays. I feel like it's really easy to not really like those types of characters. The edgy little brother that thought he deserved more, but the dude's just like that was a facet of him in his younger days. And even if he still thought, he could be the pedigree of an enchanted blade wielder, which is fair. It's just Ibiki, his older brother, was just better than him. Like we talked about last week. Like Kunishige is just like, sorry, bro, we don't have no more lightning blades. It could have
Yeah.
just been that. But I do like he notices like with Hokito's reaction time that he wasn't trying yet, and that's when Kiri talks about the Hokito using his non-dominant hand, that he's it's strong, so he spent some time swinging, and we know like that statement's important because it just makes the rest of the chapter feel believable, since we know what happens to his dominant hand.
Yeah, 100%, man. And that little wrinkle, like just that detail, again, it just glazes him and just bumps him up a bit in terms of his lethality and how dangerous he is. Because again, he's just a swordsman through and through, right? Like I do wonder where this guy comes from. Genuinely, like what's his clan? Who's his master? Where do you get his training from? Because this guy is up there with some of the best, master swordsmen we've seen in the series. Even going at Uruhai and Natsuki in itself, like those guys are legit, right? And so that detail that he can, wield just as well with his left hand, I also enjoy it because it's like a nice counter or parallel, whatever you want to call it, to like Natsuki being able to do a wield, right? And I thought that detail in itself was nice. And yeah, man, Hokuto is just a demon, seriously.
Yeah, and this is something that's like insane to think about, and we'll get more into it. But you talked about like where's Hokuto been? Like, how wasn't he on Kunishige's radar? You mentioned last week about Hokuto being an enchanted blade nominee.
Caliber, right?
Yeah, like he has the pedigree and potential for it to be one. But we don't know if there was maybe he also, that's why he joined Yura, because he pissed off that he wasn't considered. Who knows? But for him to not use he's not using his dominant hand anymore. He's only using his left hand. He's still like the only person to successfully counter AIY Purity style, like, and counter like effectively at that. But we'll get into that once we get into the fight sequence, because we did talk a bit about what happens with Kiri now that the sorcery's gone. Now Kiri and Hakuri are about to leave. They're gonna leave and go on to the Magatsumi. So it's going to be interesting to see if they do run into any of Hokito's like armored puppets or any other traders from the Kabanabi. That's something that we're going to have to definitely be on the lookout for, because obviously the whole objective is to get Hakuri to the Magatsumi.
Yeah, I do wonder how many chapters it's going to be now till we see Kiri again, because again, we haven't seen Chihiro and Tamura for a minute now. It looks like this fight is, I don't want to say getting started, because I have kind of noticed that a lot of Okazono's fights don't really last a lot, so this fight could be done in the next chapter or two. But I just, it's interesting to think about Kiri, because I don't know what type of situation she's gonna be under when we go back to her.
Yeah, because there's a lot. It's just we know the rest of Hishaku are also out running around. We don't know how much information you have in terms of like the layout of. I don't think they mentioned anything about having like a proper map for the Kabanabi headquarters. Uh, it may have been stated, I just don't remember. But if they don't have a map and they're just kind of running around trying to find this place, I mean, of course they could take a hostage and get it out of them. But if Kiri, that could be their like advantage of them knowing exactly where or how to get to it. But there's just so much chaos going on. I'm wondering, as you said, what kind of situation they'll be in when we cut back to them, because that is the whole objective and of this arc, really. And there's a lot of implications on if he gets there or not, or how all that plays out. But that's down the line. It is funny though to see Kiri just like, you old dudes handle these old dudes, just make sure you kill them. And then Uruha's like, she's talking about you. And then like Uruha's a year younger than Natsuki, and he's like, no, it's you. Like, what? Like, bro, are they stupid?
Yeah, they're both stupid, because Natsuki also, it's like the second time he calls Uruha old, and it's like, dude, you're just never mind,
Yeah,
it's
just they just can't.
I don't know. But before we get too carried away, or keep going with the fight, how about Hokuto just straight up admitting, and I kind of thought this was gonna happen. He just tells Natsuki right to his face that he killed Ibuki, but goes a step further and lets everybody know, because this is news to us as well, that he was the one that, or his sorcery, let's say, his puppet was the one that actually killed Kunishige. I'll just say this right now. This immediately makes me think that Hokuto will not die anytime soon, because it's got to be Chihiro who kills him. Just immediate kind of reaction, just immediate thoughts.
Oh, okay.
On my behalf, like it's just immediately makes me think that Chihiro is going to be the one to get him. I might just be completely wrong. We'll see.
No, I can see that. I don't think Hokuto is gonna. If Hokuto does see Chihiro face to face, I don't think Hokuto, he's already gonna be like on his like last breaths. He's about to die type of thing.
Could be, yeah.
That's what I think. But I mean, time will tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he does start he lets it all out. He's like, this is my sorcery. I killed his brother. I killed your hero. He's just stirring the pot. And what I love most is after all that, one thing I want to say is the fact that he says, I respect your feats with the enchanted blade in the Seitei War, and winks at Uruha. Natsuki, Natsuki's just like, you're too worried about the sword masters of the past or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then Hokuto's just like, doesn't care about Natsuki really. Tip sipper for sure. But that him calling Yura irreplaceable, mm-hmm. that was so cool to me. And this man, 'cause I was wondering all right, so he's kind of hyping himself, or just talking about this is what I did. I know it's about to piss both y'all off, but it's very notable. Hokuto has the most impressive resume in Kagurabachi out of the Hishaku, in terms of battle, what he's done in battle, or this, that, or the other. But talking about him being we've pledged our allegiance to him. He's irreplaceable. Just outright stating that we all follow this man. He's our leader. There's no, it's not like they just have a similar agenda. It's just Yura gave them a reason to follow him. As you were talking about, what is it about Yura that makes these strong people follow him? Because now with Hokuto, we know Trishaku's sorcery is busted. That tree is crazy strong. With the female Hishaku member, she was also there present at Kunishige's assassination. They said the top three fighting force, the top three in the Hishaku were there. Maybe the young Pishaku just wasn't in the Hishaku at that point. But so we know this means that the female Hishaku member is also going to be a demon. So I can't wait to see who she fights. But, Yura gave them a reason to follow him. And I'm hoping it's not just because he's a spawn of the sword master, and then they just kind of they idolize the sword master. It's not by proxy type of thing. I hope it's Yura as an individual that made them want to follow him.
Yeah, I mean, time will tell, right? It is tough to say right now, but I would agree with that for sure. I think, it's Yura's character that's kind of getting, glazed, for lack of a better word, by Hokuto in this moment. And I love that even Yura's kind of like, dude, what are you doing? Because he's just straight up riling up Natsuki and Uruha, and even Yura's like,
Yeah,
and
we don't
I
need
just,
any more problems, bro. They already.
dude, yeah, and I love that because it just kind of makes, as weird as it sounds, it kind of makes Yura more relatable. Like it kind of humanizes him a bit. Um, and yeah, like we kind of alluded to already, like it seems like, I don't want to say he's barely keeping up, because I don't think that's fair to say either. It's, you know,
He's holding
he
his
he
own.
yeah, he's holding his own, and like I said, like these are prestigious master swordsmen that he isn't like sharing the battlefield with, right? And he's just kind of taking every opportunity he has, right? Like we see that he tries to fucking hit Uruha like through his back and barely misses him just getting his coat when they're, back to back with each other. And it's just like the fact that he's able to do that and just kind of scrap his way with just three demons around him, to me, just levels him up even more. Just wait till
Yo,
he gets
fact.
busted. Just wait till he gets some sort of buff, because he will.
Or just wait till he's like truly bloodthirsty.
True.
Like we've never seen him really like put effort into a fight. Or like he just never seems like excited or chasing the thrill of a fight or bloodthirsted. Like with Chihiro, Chihiro cut off his arm. He throws his own arm at Chihiro for crazy. Like he's like, oh, I had to like sacrifice this arm, and or whatever he said back then. But I do like, these guys, they all came with their own swords. Yura rented his sword out of a book and he's holding his own. You know what I'm saying? Like, put respect on Yura's name. This man ain't carrying around a sword, but he's fighting, basically, aside from Samura, like, it seems like Uruha is the demon, is like the strongest one with a sword that's not an enchanted blade wielder.
Called a prodigy. Straight up,
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not sure if he's been called the prodigy before, but if he, this chapter confirms it either way.
Yeah, 16 Aiwe purity style. I mean, Iori had to master it even younger, but she's not she doesn't use it for killing.
No, yeah, Uru has that guy for real. Like,
yeah, he definitely. I'm glad he's back. We talked about whether him being revived like in universe made sense. Everything was there, like all like the steps to foreshadow it. It was all there, it made sense. It was just about like, how do we feel about him coming back? Like, what does it mean for the story? And I mean, Hokuzono hasn't let anyone down. Like, he's been just killing it. And it's not even just about him fighting. It's Uruha's like interactions, like his interactions with other people. He's just fun to have on panel in the story.
Yeah, precisely. I'm glad you brought up the interactions, because that's just what I was about to get at. Like, it's not just that Uruha, is brought back and you kind of have this feeling where like the author doesn't know what to do with him. He's brought back and immediately kind of put in these very interesting positions, and put next to characters like Kiri, who he has history with. He's put next to Natsuki, which there is like a very fun dynamic that is very unique to them and very different from anything else that we've seen in Kagurabachi. They're both kind of opposing Hokuto, who's like infatuated with Uruha, but also killed Natsuki's brother. Like, just the way that Hokuzono has been able to orchestrate the whole thing and plug in Kiri and plug in Yura and having them feed into just like the whole interaction and the fight, and everybody's getting their flowers, everybody's getting their chance to go crazy, because even Natsuki, like at one point, he just goes right at Uruha and Hokuto at the same time and even like pushes them back. Like, everybody's just flat out getting, again, glazed. And this chapter is just one of my favorite, like, genuinely. It might sound crazy, I might say this like every month, but This chapter is very unique to anything, compared to anything else we've seen in Kagurabachi before.
Yeah, this is the 2v2 is insane. Like, we talked about like that's where it's headed. You know, I thought that Hishaku was gonna come back and then take the place of Yura, so Yura can go on and chase, Hakuri and Kiri. That didn't happen. But we still got the 2v2, and he didn't disappoint, because let's talk about the opening move in the fight. Uruha's just removing Hokito's dominant hand. And then
like
Natsuki,
nothing.
Yeah, and then Natsuki follows it up like in quick succession, like they've been teaming up forever, going over the top of him with like a spinning blade attack.
Yeah, I want to say this real quick because I completely forgot to mention it. But like, it's not just their dynamic, like the interaction between Natsuki and Uruha, what really works for me, but the fact that this chapter really stresses the idea of like, even if you're a prodigy, even if you're like gifted, the concept of like keeping your edge, like staying like in practice, in game shape, as they call it, like that's a big deal in this fight. And it's the reason why Natsuki is able to, put on this performance. And I love how Uruha is able to like acknowledge him and respect him, because again, like just how that rivalry was pre-established in previous chapters, and the fact that we know that Uruha doesn't actually disrespect him, and we see him this chapter after he already said, like, gave him insane praise last chapter, saying like, oh, Natsuki, with you we can beat this, like he knows. And then on top of that, he's seeing Natsuki go crazy and pretty much says like, hey yo, I'm behind here, and he has to like remind himself who he is. And I love that, because if it isn't for Natsuki, like Uruha doesn't get that moment where he's like, nah, I'm him, give me a minute, And
get that edge back. And talking about that opening move again, it is important to like realize like Hokito's only got the one hand, but with him using his non-dominant hand to block one of Natsuki's swords, Yura came in and reacted to Natsuki's strike. None of them reacted to Uruha, but Yura came in to help deflect the other sword, for Hokito, to make up for Hokito's lack of being able to use his other hand to like guard with like his armor or whatever. So
yeah, dude.
So shout out to Yura for that. And I mean, we see Natsuki use his sorcery, breaking him through a wall. And then what's so funny is like this shit's happening in the library. Like we see them like, and it's so funny to me that this is where it takes place. I mean, Kaminabi's got a third library. Let me guess. The Masumi knows every sorcery in that library, in all the libraries. But I gotta take a shot at the Masumi. But I love you. Yours just like, you really riled them up, talking to Hokito, and Hokito's like, you're welcome. And even Hokito's just saying that, it's easy to imagine my death in my future. Like he just wants to die on the battlefield.
Yeah,
dude.
It's
a strong opponent. Like where was he during the war? Was he in the war fighting?
I'm saying, dude.
That's what I want to know, because he like the only person to ever like really counter AIY Purity style, and he does so by cutting off Ura's fingers so he can no longer hold his sheath. Like dude. That, like he just like he really handicapped, Uruha. I mean, unless Samura, when he comes back, he can Suzaku that, if that's even possible.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Me either. But that was like one of the top moments in the chapter for me, is just Hokito's saying, with his he's using his left hand, by the way, and he did that. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, dude, and I think it's another like again a testament to how Hokuzono is able to keep the readers on edge in terms of like giving you this feeling that anything can go down in this fight. Like these are characters like Uruha, like losing his thumb, even though it's a minor injury, like you said, because it just changes the way that he's able to like perform his style entirely, it is like a crucial wound to have, right? And then like Hokuto, like you said early in the chapter, just losing his hand, and he was or his arm, and he was introduced like a couple of chapter ago as like a big player, like very well a heavy hitter. And
Well,
I think,
my bad. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, I think Hokuzono is able to do a good job of like, even if you know that like, nah, what are the chances that this character actually dies here? He's able to do enough to make like plant that seed of doubt. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, with Hokuto losing, his like arm or his like wrist up to his hand, whatever it is, Uruha lost 3 fingers. But the thing is, we've already seen Hishaku members get their arms reattached.
Mm-hmm.
So Hokuto, in theory, could get his arm back, and if this fight gets interrupted and they have to leave or whatever happens, they dip out. If they can get that arm back, Hokuto still can come back with his dominant hand. But like I don't know. I don't think Uruha's getting his fingers back. I just don't think so. But I mean, I guess we'll see.
I wonder. I don't know either.
And it's funny how, in a lot of stories you see like teammates, when they're in a team fight, teammates end up like bumping against each other, and then they like, talk and have each other's back. This time it's Yura and Uruha bumping against each other's back. And Yura wastes no time to just try and take him out. But of course, Uruha, being the GOAT he is, just, loses his cape and ducks it. So fire.
Yeah, no, that whole sequence, cold as fuck, honestly.
And where
the whole
Natsuki's
chapter,
like,
honestly.
Yeah, Natsuki's roasting Uruha, sitting in the spring looking like a prone. And I mean, his choreography is insane too. Throws his sword up with his right hand sword up. You see the shadow on Hokuto's face, and then he goes underneath to slash his belly, and then catches his sword again. And then it's so ass, man. I'll let you talk a little bit about like Natsuki's thoughts and how he never lost his edge and all that.
Yeah, well, look, man, I think it is a bit tough for me to say this because we are the Hishaku Hideout. But look, man, we have to admit that Yura and Hokuto, like, maybe it's not fair to say that they're getting their ass handed to them, but they are very like much on the back foot in this fight. Like, especially with Uruha like locking in at the end, and with the Natsuki that, like you said, the whole emphasis we already talked about, like him just never losing his edge for basically 20 years, right? Motivated by the whole Uruha thing, motivated by his brothers. I don't know if they were his last words, but the words that rang deep in him, and that like, even the slightest weakness. And so like Natsuki just, for 20 years, he just never lost his edge. And that's the guy that Hokuto and Yura are going up against. And a guy in Uruha that, like I said earlier, he just remembered who the hell he is. And like, I'm really wondering, and hey, maybe this is where Hishaku comes in, right? But like, it just got me thinking, like, because dude, look at Yura and Hokuto in that last double spread. Like, they are, and yeah, there's damage on Uruha and Natsuki, but like, it's just not nearly the same amount of damage. So I'm really wondering what type of rabbit, the Hishaku are gonna have to pull out of the hat to I don't know, bring the fight back to Natsuki and Uruha. Because let me know what you think, but it very much feels like they're on the defensive.
Yeah, I do think that they are on more so the back foot per se, but I mean Hokuto, I feel like Hokuto, how can I say this? Like, without Uruha being able to use the AI White Purity style as like fluid in battle now, because he can't hold the sheath with his hand, and he had to do it with his mouth. He won't always be able to hold his sheath in his mouth. He won't be able to always like properly charge it up. Maybe he can learn how to do it like different ways, and if he makes it out this arc and trains on it. but he still does have his dominant hand to swing a sword around, and we know that's pretty good. He still has Crimson Recital, so where maybe as like he won't be able to use AI White Purity style in the proceeding fights, is more we'll see Crimson Recital kind of take the stage to make up for that.
Good point.
Yura not being a swordsman, I think people are gonna meme him a lot and give him shit. But I think Yura is doing just as fine for like the situation. These are like demon sword, like sword guys. Like one guy's a lightning user. He could have used it a lot more too, to be honest. And they'd have been even more in a better position in the fight. But as you said, in the last panel, it does look Hokuto and Yura are they're worse for wear.
I mean, Hokuto's laughing. It's not like he cares.
Yeah, they're not tripping.
He's having the time of his life. Hokuto's like, that's what he wanted,
Facts. And Yura's more just like he's just kind of like the conscience of like the fight. Like where they need to be, what's going on. He doesn't seem like he's like panicking at all. You know what I mean?
He does look like he's fed up though. Look at him in that last panel. He's done. He is tired of the bullshit.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah, he might just be getting ready though. He might just be locking the fuck in. Actually, yeah.
And you see the books flying all around them. They're all it looks like they're all now serious because look at Uruha. Uruha's got the like his edge back. Can't use AI White Purity style, but as we just I said, like he's still got the faculties and ability to like contend with what's happening here. Natsuki's probably like has the like highest percentage of health here, but this is going to be interesting. I just don't know if this fight is going to like fully go all the way.
Yeah, I'm wondering the same thing. But hey, like you mentioned, what's that?
Damn, this fight was so fucking good.
Yeah, man. I mean, it might get better because check this out. You mentioned the books. We're seeing like you said, we're seeing a couple of books there. You know what that means, right?
Yura's gonna pull out 30 swords from each book.
Yes, sir.
That'd be funny.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, third library bet.
All the swords.
Yeah, this is this is just one of those things where I think we all know Hokuzono's like ability to give us like a gas fight, a very fun fight, cool choreography, but it's insane that he's still surprising us. You know what I mean? It's not like he's just re-solidifying the things we already knew. He's given us like, now here's a 2v2 fight, and with the players, all the players that are in there, they have like a connection to one another, like most swordsmen do in Kagurabachi. But the fight itself, is just still just like shocking that this man is doing this. Like he break next week and he deserves it. God damn.
Oh, 100% he deserves it because like, in the middle of it all, right? Like it's not just a great fight. Like we already talked about like all that's happening, at the same time, and like all that Hokuzono is able to juggle and just to cap like in just a couple of chapters with newly introduced characters, and even giving us like nice, like not so subtle references, like Uruha, because he doesn't have his thumb and he has to kind of unsheath with his teeth, just like a very neat parallel to Hirohiko, right? Who obviously ended up wielding Kimiyuri, his former blade, and just things like that shows you that Hokuzono really gets it,
And he's missing 3 fingers, bro. Not just he's missing his thumb and 2 more fingers.
I keep forgetting. True.
Because like I said, maybe he can get him back. Who like it's not out of the realm of possibility, but I don't know. We'll see how everything plays out in terms of that. But I mean, really, this whole chapter is just this fight, and like a battle shonen, characters grow through battle. Like our appreciation for them. Natsuki is, has that edge to him of like, he's been in in a hot spring this whole time. I've been, constantly pushing myself, never losing the edge, always ready to battle. And
Yeah.
that, Natsuki's like, that's who he is. He's like that grit. He's just that character that, he is edgy, but it does seem like the Kabunabi have people, genuine people who like, don't Natsuki seem like, at first he just seemed like maybe he was just kind of for himself or whatever, but he does seem like he has like some sense of justice to him. I do get that vibe from him that, like, Kiri, even though they have like their own like vision, they're still down for the cause. They're still down for, like, the orders. They're not selfish in a sense. I mean, of course, a lot of that can change. That's just the vibe. But I think Kiri for sure has showed that she cares. She cares about, like, what's best for the nation, and if Hakuri getting to Magasumi's best, she'll do it. Like, she's ready to sacrifice herself for him. And Natsuki seems like he's down for the cause too.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I think we talked about this a couple of episodes ago, where I said, like, Kamunabi they have some writers, like, for real. Like, they got people that you can tell, for better or worse, they are aligned with the cause, or at least what they think is right. And for Natsuki, what I really enjoy about his character, that you kind of alluded to, to this earlier, is that, yeah, he at first he does kind of come off as like the younger brother who just felt like he deserves it all, but in this case, like, it's what drives him to be the best version of himself. Like, it's not like he stayed on his ass and just thought for 20 years that he deserved everything and never amounted to anything. Like, no, it's that same kind of sense of determination that drove him to be who he is now, right? Whether it was because of jealousy or whatever, he felt that might have not been or been justified, really. It's still what led him to be who he is today. It's not like he's this loser character who feels like he was just done wrong and he wasn't able to overcome that. Like, we've seen that type of character, right? But that's not what he is. And I think that's part of what, despite him being like a bona fide hater, like, towards Uruha, I think it's what makes him such a like character. And of course, he's a badass, right?
Yeah, facts. And like I think the thing with his character is more about that it's not that he feels like, even if he felt like he should have been an enchanted sword bearer, I think it's more about, like, the experience, like seeing his brother, someone he probably thought would never get killed by a sword,
Yeah.
Seeing his brother die, it's more like, not in the sense of, oh, my brother was weak, he was nothing. It's more like he saw that, if it's, what happened after the war, made him lose his edge in battle.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, and he's like, I can't lose my edge, because I don't want to get God. I don't want to get God. Like, I always, he died because he wasn't prepared for battle. He wasn't.
And Uruha. So did Uruha. Like, in Natsuki's head, before Uruha came back, it was like both of those guys bit the dust.
Yeah, it felt like Uruha. He was always like, since he's picked the sword back up, it's more like he's fighting for other people. And like, don't get me wrong, the dude was always badass and fighting to his, like, ability. But now seeing Natsuki, like, invigorated that edge in him again, the edge of, like, war, deathly combat. Now he's now tied into a deadly, a mortal combat, if you will. And he doesn't have that edge, which, if he had that edge, he most likely wouldn't have lost his fingers. You could probably, say that. And now we will see a feral Uruha next chapter, hopefully. Which
I
think
agree.
would be so cool.
Yeah. I think he's tapping into that Seitei war mindset. Like, I think this is the closest we're gonna see. I mean, he might go crazier, right? Like, he might get stronger and whatever. But what I'm trying to say is, like, I think right now is the first time we've since coming back that he's really starting to tap into that, version of himself that he probably hasn't tapped into the Seitei war.
Yeah, maybe he didn't like himself, like when he in battle. Maybe he just not saying he goes like loose cannon and crazy, but maybe he just doesn't like
For sure.
seeing
I
himself that
think.
way. And so now like it would be an interesting character arc for him to like have to like go back to that in order to like stay alive, and how he deals with it after it all, like the dust settles.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, great chapter. I mean, really, really great chapter. This is for sure, you know, definitely a top favorite, nominee.
Yeah, I don't
This is
care. It is.
like so fucking good, man. Like what's Hokuzono eating, bro? I need to know his, because he's younger than me by a decent bit, and he's built so different.
No, talk through Himothy Hokuzono, man.
Yeah, like it's not like he's just it's not just that like he's doing like cool action sequences that like woo us. It's he interwoven like character interactions and growth. Like characters doing real like introspection during battle. We see the writing's great, the choreography's always fun. He just has a great, like I say, he has a knack for this medium, and like he knows the demographic better than most mangaka and Shonen Jump. Like truly, even the slow chapters feel like rewarding. He just knows like that what's popular, what's like what's gonna like resonate with like the readers of today.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all, man. I think that's exactly why he's where he's at right now, and deserves all the best.
See, my daughter was going nuts in the background. Not sure if that picked up. She was screaming like a crazy person.
No, I didn't. The mic didn't pick up anything, not that I could hear.
But yeah, I mean, that's really the chapter, though. I mean, it's there wasn't a lot. I mean, there's a lot of glaze going on. I just had to go put the honey away. I'm almost out at this point. But
I've been out.
Wait, I've been out. Gotta go buy it in bulk. I gotta ask, where do we go from here before we end?
Oh man, I think we stay. I think we stay in this fight at least one more chapter. Where do we go from there? It's tough to say right now. I wouldn't even know where to be. Like, I have no idea. I don't know. Cooking up, it's tough to say because it does feel like we're gonna.
But you do think we're gonna stay this chapter, though? 100% is what you're thinking.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Short answer, I do. I think we're gonna stay in this fight at least one more chapter.
Gotcha. I think the chapter will start with them, swapping hands, and I think by the end of the chapter it'll get interrupted. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, I can see that.
But I mean, that'll really do it. I mean, I can't say it enough. 10 out of 10, peak chapter like always. The man is on a crazy run, by the way. I feel like Kagurabachi was always really good. But I feel like it's been great since like the last 2 chapters of Iori's flashback from that to now, which was like chapter 75, around that. So I feel like this man's on an insane like 20, almost 20 chapter run. This is 92, so 17 chapter run of like greatness.
Yeah, and I'll say this is just my closing thoughts, because it's because of that, because Hokuzono has somehow, I don't know if he's a magician or like what type of sorcery himself. Like he's what he's done is, it's insane, man. And I'm not just like glazing it, like the world recognizes, and I do bring this up because again, it is like I feel another victory lap for Kagurabachi, and like the momentum that it's gaining even before it has an anime. Like, I don't know if you saw, but a recent DC Comics variant cover for Batman just full on like references the first volume of Kagurabachi. It's Batman striking Chihiro's same pose. Dude, Batman is fucking Batman. We're talking about like one of two, but the superhero of DC Comics, right? And again, the fact that
really, that's a top 2 superhero of, like, notoriety all time. It's like him and
Yeah,
Superman are, like, the
exactly.
notable, like, icons of
Worldwide.
the medium, you know?
Dude, and it's insane. So like again, like Hokuzono, people outside of the fan base or maybe like people in general might think that it's just insane glaze from us fans. Like just it's on that like that's all we know how to do nonstop. But like it's warranted, dude, because name another manga without an anime has this sort of momentum, mainstream and like in the community. Like it's
Facts. Yeah, I mean,
crazy.
like, Yuji appeared on, like, the Spider-Man comic, but think about it, this happened, like, a year ago. You know what I mean? This is Kagurabachi,
Yes.
pre-100 chapters, no anime announcement either, like
Yeah, and even the Yuji thing, it was like him in a corner. Like
yeah,
it
it was just
wasn't even like
a
a
cameo. It was, like, just a
yeah.
one-off cameo.
Yeah,
It was
man.
just very minor.
So
Facts.
we're winning.
Boy, are we, but, I mean, that'll do it for us. I don't really have any closing statements. I think I said everything. No
Yes.
chapter next week. So, let Hokuzono, instead of let Hokuzono cook, let Hokuzono rest. That's where we're at.
Yes. I like
And
that.
yeah, and not sure what if we'll have a video next week. Me and Dice will talk about it, but we'll post like a community post or something like that on the
Yes.
YouTube channel. Like if we figure out what we're gonna do, or we'll let you know if it's gonna be we'll also take a break. I can't keep spinning on it. You
Yeah,
know?
we got to take a break too,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, facts. But that'll do it for us. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Check out Dice's channel. He's got some videos coming up. I know that are gonna cook. Check out my channel. I got a video that I cooked a bit on. And anything else, Dice?
No, man, that's all from me.
All right, guys. See you whenever. Peace.
Peace.